Okay, welcome everyone.
So, welcome everyone.
Oh, you have a much better presenting voice than me. Thank you everyone for joining Ryan and I for our workshop today. We are very excited, and I know that we are one of the last few sessions between you and an amazing dinner at Parliament House. So very much appreciate you giving us your time and not ducking back for a sneaky nap just yet. And we have some pretty cool things to talk to you about. I am very excited about the robot. But to begin with, Ryan and I are here to talk to you about all things amazing with technology and how we can use artificial intelligence, robotics and so on to accelerate our impact as social marketers, whether we're academics, practitioners, policymakers, no matter which space we're working in. So we are, thank you very much. Obviously, as AI researchers and people who work in this space, we collaborated with AI on this project and wanted to share with you how we did that in the interest of transparency. So when it comes to planning the actual content for the presentation, that was Ryan and I having a bit of a chat on Zoom and working things out together. When it was time to structure and iterate, we had a little bit of help from my mate Chatty G and also Claude. When we researched and created the content, that was us again. For visualizations, Ryan went with the old human approach and I went with Gamma. And as for presenting the workshop, that's mostly humans with a very special guest appearance by Temi the Robot, thanks to Ryan. So if I can ask for the next slide, please. Oh, we have the controller. Oh, that's good to know.
Do you want me to push for you? Or would you like
Oh,
to?
no, that's all right. Now that I know I have it. Don't you just love it when technology academics don't understand how the technology is working? But I'm getting there, The problem is that I didn't have ChatGPT up here to ask, but I had Ryan, so thankfully.
Same.
I think you're better. Human Ryan's better than AI Ryan.
That is true, that is true.
Definitely.
AI Ryan does not make good jokes.
No. And AI Kate looks like a Terminator. Anyway, so my name is Associate Professor Kate Letheren, and I'm joining you here today from the Australian Catholic University. I spend or get to spend my time researching how humans interact with technology, ideally to make the world a better place and to make our worlds a better place for us. So in terms of ethics, well-being, and so on. And I am joined by my fabulous colleague, Dr. Ryan Payne, and I will allow him to introduce himself.
I realize I'll just grab the other microphone. I keep wanting to lean forward to talk into the microphone for the people online, and I'm like, I can just stand and hold a microphone. I have hands. So it's interesting when you talk about using collaborations and using AI, because we're pretty good with AI, and the fact that we're supposed to talk about AI in front of all of you, in theory, we should know what we're doing. But if you go to the next slide, when we said make a bio, so I made a bio slide, right? And I went through and I made graphics, and I made a proper graphic, I did a bio and a whole thing. And it's interesting about the communication, because I put a bio up of me and who I am, whereas Kate, we said, here, we've got a bio slide. She's like, yeah, there's my name, there's your name, we're good. Move on. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how even with AI and with services going forward.
Absolutely. So whether you're collaborating with humans or AI, communication is key. As I saw this amazing slide from Ryan, I'm like, you know what, that's enough. That's impressive enough for the both of us.
Kate is significantly far more impressive than I am. Her resume and bio would look way, way better. That's why we put mine up.
Ryan is too modest. Okay, so in terms of the actual session content today, now Ryan and I are probably done with kind of making fun of each other and ourselves. No, just kidding, we're not done. We're going to talk a little bit about collaborating with AI for sustainable productivity. So how do we as individuals, as organisations, use AI so that we can get out and do that good work that we're in the process of doing and do it faster without sacrificing our own well-being in the process? Ryan is then going to take over and talk to you about taking the AI and the technology into the real world as interventions and how AI, robots, technology in general can strengthen our behaviour change initiatives. We'll then do a little bit of a Q&A and wrap up. So if you have any questions as you go through, please feel free to collect them for us. During my presentation at least, you are welcome to yell out any very urgent questions that you have. Ryan, what's your take on questions during?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Feel free to answer live.
Excellent. Live questions. So let's begin. So artificial intelligence or AI, technology, digital, robotics, these are words that we are hearing every day in every sphere of our lives right now, to the point that you're probably thinking, goodness gracious, again? But then again, you are here in this workshop, so you're really doing it to yourselves, turning up here. What we're also seeing is a personal sustainability crisis. So at the same time that we're getting these amazing technologies that make things easier, they're also making things harder. And we are rushing to try and adapt and integrate these into our ways of working, and often it feels like more of a burden than a help. We have the environmental impact to think about, both of using artificial intelligence and digital technologies and of not using and continuing to rely on our traditional methods. And then we have this collaboration imperative. We know and we want to collaborate more with the amazing humans around us. And then AI is coming in and we ask ourselves, well, how does it actually fit into the picture? And I've cited a couple of recent papers up there, very recent from this year, saying that actually when we use AI, it can make us better collaborators, better able to work across different disciplines, better able to work in different fields, and better able to work with other humans, essentially. So an AI plus a human team is better than just humans on their own and better than just AI on its own, which I thought was a really interesting take. So feel free to have a read of those if that's something you're interested in. And of course, ethics. Not only the traditional ethics of thinking about the people, the planet, sustainability, but also looking after ourselves, for crying out loud. We work hard enough. So how might we introduce AI into our collaborations? You could be working with AI yourself. This is probably something that's happened today. Anyone here willing to admit to the fact that you've been talking to ChatGPT or similar today? A couple of people? This week? A few more people? Okay, most of the room, yep. So many of us are already collaborating with AI in one format or another. So we can even work with it like a human colleague, mapping tasks, mapping time, working on things together. Some of my favorite things to do are to create little teams of AIs. I give them all specific names, they have specific tasks, and my co-authors and colleagues have started to joke that it's me working with my team when something is done by AI. So we have that. We also have AI working with AI. So as you have probably found, different AI tools have different capabilities and strengths. I know many of us in the audience are very interested in working in the strengths-based approach. We're really good at seeing strengths and leveraging them. AI is no different. It has its own individual strengths that we can get to work together. So I will often have my whole kind of team open, and I might be using Claude to help me plan, Elicit to help me pull papers, ChatGPT to help me do summaries and create visuals out of that, Gamma to then put that into a presentation that I can share with my colleagues, and kind of leveraging the strengths of each. But most interestingly, we have teams plus AI, human teams plus AI. So thinking about how we all have our own strengths with using AI and technology and what that means for our human teams now and in the future. So option one, in terms of ways to enhance our impact while not enhancing our level of burnout, getting unstuck. So AI can be a great way to get the wheels turning when you are just stuck for ideas or how to move forward. And if you are someone like me who hits a bit of a roadblock and thinks, you know what, it's too hard, I'm going to go and grab a coffee and maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. This is a great place to use AI. And I've actually programmed my AIs to remind me to go and get a coffee. So if I go to an AI, one of my team members, she's called Esme, I go to Esme and say, I'm struggling on this, or, I don't know how to answer a particular question on this ethics review. It will say, okay, let me start thinking about some options for that. You go and get a coffee, dearie. And I do. And then when I come back, we can continue having that conversation. You can, and many of us do, use AI for writing assistance. We've been doing this for many years already with things like spell check, which was an early form of pattern recognition with AI. Now we have assistance with copy editing, we have Grammarly and so on. Overcoming friction points, very useful. And navigating complexity. So often when we are working across disciplines with people in different spheres, they will refer to a concept or a paper or a theory, and you just kind of nod along, right? Like, oh yeah, I've totally heard of that theory before. I'm not afraid to admit that during those Zoom meetings, I am on my various AI tools, boning up on that information automatically. Whereas previously, before I had this option, I either had the laborious Google search, which, yes, is something you should do afterwards to verify it was telling you the truth, or just kind of nodding along and hoping I remembered to look it up later. So AI can help us to get unstuck and get moving. Option 2, one of my favorites, see what's out there. So literature reviews, whether we are in academia, whether we're in practice, whether we're in policy, we often have to answer questions and find out what's out there already, what's already happening, what solutions do we have. So one of the tools that I will often use is called Elicit, which can help create literature tables. If you are willing to pay for a higher version, you can even get simple systematic literature reviews. Does this replace our existing way of finding information and finding literature and synthesizing it? No, not yet. But it gives you a great start. It gives you ideas on where to look, and it helps to summarize some of what's already there. I am able to find gaps in the literature far faster than it would have taken before. Research synthesis, you can use tools like Consensus or Perplexity to get pretty quick answers from multiple sources. I've also put these tools on to, or recommended these tools to family members, because they will often come and ask questions about, what's going on with here, or what's this particular person been saying about this? And you can get some pretty quick answers with sources that you can go and check from those tools. And you'll notice the continuing reference back to that you can go and check, because after all, we are still interested in making sure that the knowledge is valid and does what we need it to do. Field scanning with things like the Lens or Synapse to identify trends and map where the influence is. Who's working on what? Who are they working with? Where did the trend start? Where is it going? And even research stages. So this was one, actually, Ryan put me onto a couple of these. One was the Lens and the other one was Future House, which is looking at creating a type of AI behavioural scientist to offer that support and collaboration across multiple research stages. So very cool. If you've heard of these tools before, if you're using them, amazing. If you haven't, write down some of the names and go and have a look. I know I hadn't heard of the Lens or Future House when Ryan and I were planning. I went and looked them up and I'm just like, wow, there are so many tools out there. There's also a great website, and I have forgotten to put the link up, called There's an AI for That, which will just blow your mind with how many AIs are out there for various tasks. Okay, how am I doing on time? Okay, pretty good. So the third option is getting the word out. Like, we do great work. But sometimes you get to the end of the project and there's another project. Like, ideally, yes, there's another project. And we keep going and we keep learning new things and we keep going. And then you look back and realize that actually no one knows about the amazing work that you've been doing. And that makes us sad as academics and practitioners and policymakers, because we want to share, right? We're here because we're at conferences and workshops because we want to share information. So this is another place where AI can help you get unstuck. You can use things like ChatGPT to help you create initial communication structures, help you create initial drafts, ask how you would say things like, how do I say this in a way that's really going to resonate with this type of audience? You can get AI to help you visualize ideas with things like Gamma or PictoChart. And the presentation slides that are behind me at the moment were generated by Gamma. So I gave it the content in a very boring black and white PowerPoint, and then it took it from there. I gave it a quick edit, and here we are. Creating presentations, not only Gamma, but things like Slides Go, and distributing. So thinking about, okay, what's the message, brainstorming, what kind of language, what kind of platform is most relevant to getting that out to my different audiences, and getting that ball rolling. So you essentially have an assistant to not only bounce ideas off of, but to help you reword things, help you structure presentations, help you create visualizations, which is not to say that AI should be replacing our human colleagues here. If you have access to the budget for human editors, visual designers, and so on, absolutely work with those people. But often we're working on a shoestring, and rather than me, I'm just going to point to myself here, putting clip art and word art and so on in my slides. Now I have the option to have something a little more polished at least. And the bonus, nudging our own behaviour. So as I said, we work hard. We don't want AI to make that harder. And honestly, managing multiple teams of AIs, it's still work, it's just different work. So how can we use them to make our lives a bit easier along the way? So one thing is personal optimization. So AI can help you to come up with a schedule that works for you based on your productivity patterns. So I often need time to get ready for meetings and debrief after meetings. Otherwise, I forget half the things that were mentioned during that meeting. So if I tell AI what I have to do for the week, and it knows this about my productivity patterns, it suggests ways to schedule and reminds me, have you put in travel time? Have you put in time to do post-meeting actions? And honestly, I am so much less stressed when I just put the time in, but I forget if I don't have the reminder. Pain point solutions, so figuring out what your common obstacles are and ways you might get around them. Data-driven insights, so some AIs work on performance analytics, your performance analytics, to figure out what your optimal work conditions are and help you tailor accordingly. And of course, saving you time. So there's a big kind of excitement around AI, and I'm excited around AI and technology as well. But often I have fallen into the trap of trying to learn too many new tools, and it takes me longer to use the tool than it would have done to just do it the traditional way. So it's always worth considering which is best for me in this moment. Which tool? Do I need a human? Do I need an AI? So that we're not just pouring extra time in. So if you wanted to try it out for yourself, a quick 2-minute exercise for you. Think about a pain point that you have experienced in the last week. So you might open your calendar and have a look and think, oh yeah, that happened and I was really stressed after that. Or you might look ahead at your calendar and say, oh, I have that coming up. So choose an AI tool that might help you. So is there something coming up that you actually have no idea what you're going to talk about in that meeting, and maybe you need help coming up with an agenda? Is there an R&R that you're working on for the academics and writers in the room that you're not quite sure how to break things up between you and your co-authors? What is the particular pain point that you're just not looking forward to or that didn't go so well in the last week? And think about which kind of tool. Are you after idea generation? Are you after just someone to bounce ideas off? Are you after help with visualizations? Write down that AI tool, and if you're comfortable, feel free to go ahead and write a prompt that you might use. If you have it available, you can go and try it and then share it with people at your table. I think my big pain point is X. Based on the presentation, I would love to try and use Claude for that, and here's how I would do it. So with prompt engineering, something I know a lot of people in the room already know, my few little tricks are identity, tell the AI who they are. So if you haven't yet created a little team of AI employees and given them cute names like Esme, at least go into your prompt and say, you are an expert in communication strategy. Give them the background. I am trying to write a proposal for an audience of policymakers in environment and sustainability. And I need you to help me structure out how that proposal should work, because my idea is X, and I'm not sure how to get that across appropriately. And then tell the AI to provide you with 1 or 2 options, then critique its own work and tell you how it could make it better. Make the AI do some of that additional work as well. And I think, that brings me to the end of my part of the session. So a few key takeaways: start small, think big. Start with one pain point, one way that AI could make your life easier, help you to move a little bit faster, help you to get the good work that you do out into the world. Just start there. Collaborate, don't delegate. We don't want to replace human connection. The research is telling us that we need both. Practice digital wellness, set your boundaries, set time frames. Do not go down an AI rabbit hole at 2 a.m. in the morning like someone I know does. And build sustainable habits. These types of technologies are there to make our worlds better and to make the world around us better, and we want to keep that front and centre. Thank you very much. And I will now pass to the wonderful Ryan.
Do you want to hold that one? Or
oh, would you like to hold
that works. That works. I must do the thing for me. So I'm very lucky because Kate is incredibly good at this and downplays herself. So when I show you tips and tricks on how to take what she's talked about in the theoretical perspective, it's really easy to go forward with this. Because I think that sometimes we hear this as academics and practitioners where you're like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So my side's a little bit easier because I get to actually show you a little bit of these tips and tricks. I think one of the big things also, if you noticed, is that we kept sharing tools. And as people who are really good with technology are like, do you use that tool? Well, it's not really quite there yet. And I think that's one of the things you have to recognize, that some of these tools exist and we know about them, but they're not proficient enough to be used them solely. Okay? So in terms of talking about interventions, there you go. I think one of the things to recognize is some people see it as a tool, right? We use AI systems, and when we say AI, a lot of people automatically go to large language models, right? Now, I love this because my grade 2 teacher was like, you need to learn English, and I struggled. I was a math person. I do qualitative research. Don't worry, I'm not just a quant jock. But I remember thinking language, and that's actually how most AI came drafted. These optimization integral curves in Excel that then progressed going forward into recognizing we can optimize word selection and pattern recognition in words of speech that actually developed into pattern recognition in pictures, pattern recognition into video, and eventually into pattern recognition of behaviors. If you have children, you know where they run and the same patterns that they run. If you have colleagues, you know the ones that are always late and you need to tell them 5 minutes early. You have that friend that you're like, hi, we're meeting at 8:30, and everyone else, you're like, hi, we're meeting at 8, so that way they show up on time, right? And I think that that's the thing we have to recognize, is that sometimes it's a tool, and we treat it like a tool. Sometimes it becomes like a hammer. We're like, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna use AI, I'm gonna use technology. In that regard, it comes like IKEA furniture, right? It breaks up your relationships, and at the end, you're like, do I really even want what I just created? It's not good quality. And so how do we use it? As Kate outlined, we actually typically use it for writing scripts. We can summarize meetings. One of the things I love is anybody works in an administrative role or has to do the meeting minutes. And I love showing them how you can take Teams transcript, copy and paste that into ChatGPT, say, can you give me the action items, right? And then I say, great, copy and paste that into Outlook and Copilot and say, oh, Copilot, create the meeting for whatever in a month from now, and can you remind everyone 3 days before the meeting of their action items? So that way everyone 3 days beforehand gets a lovely email prompt. You have a meeting in 3 days. Have you done the work? Right? And so rather than me having to schedule meetings and schedule out reminding everyone, I can copy, please summarize. Copy, please do this. I write 2 sentences, which sometimes as a guy, 2 sentences, it's hard to string them together. That's all I have to do. And AI services go significantly further and make sure that everyone's on time. And if you were in any of my panel sessions, you know that I am very much on time. And everyone's like, you are bang on always. I'm like, yep, there's that margin time. And I don't have to spend mine managing everyone else. Idea generation. We talked about it. I use about 7 different large language models for the exact same prompt. So I want to make beef bourguignon, and I want to make Julia Child's beef bourguignon, right? Because I'm a single man, so I'm at home watching Julia and Jules and watching the movie. I'm like, oh, I love this. It's so great. I'm going to make beef bourguignon by Julia Child. I ask multiple AI services, how do I do this? And please dumb it down for someone who's not necessarily the best chef. And can you please put it with Australian groceries? Because you can't get marjoram in Australia. They don't sell that spice at Coles or Woolies. And I don't want to pay $126. I tried to find it. I'm not going to pay that when I could just use oregano. Thank you for substitution, right? We use chatbots, and if you do voice messages, if you ever talk to me, I WhatsApp. I get everyone to WhatsApp. I don't straight to WhatsApp because I voice message all the time. And then half the time what I do is I say, hey, AI, can you draft a voice message to these people and send out messages to all of my friends? I have an Excel spreadsheet. I know when their birthdays are. I know things about them. And so I can message about 200, 300 people a day and keep good contact with them. And I was like, you're so good. I'm like, yeah, I read about 10,000 people a month. We're good. We're best friends, right? Yeah, somebody, I think it was Timo, was like, how was your birthday? And I'm like, I actually, on my birthday, it's the funniest thing. I turn my phone off. Like, I don't even want to try because I know that people will call and like, well, you're my best friend. You always check in. I'm like, AI. Generating graphics and images. You can use it to generate graphics. I think we've already done it. We've seen videos. One of the things that comes in terms of misinformation and disinformation, if you see a video and it starts saying, hi, Mom, oh my gosh, it's me. And you're like, oh, I see my child in the video call. It's on their iPhone. I recognize their clothing. And it says, Mom, I need money. You're like, well, I can see my child. They're asking for money. Yes, I will send you money. But then you find out, ooh, no, that's actually a manipulation. That's a new scam. And that's what you're seeing the sophistication happen in North America that we know is going to trickle over to Australia in about a month or two from now. Likewise, simple tasks. When we talk about using LLMs, you can ask it to remind you of things. Go to bed is my favorite one. Ryan, we were messaging at 12:30, and I love that at 12:45, Ryan, make good choices. Put the computer down. Put the cell phone down. And then I hear a reminder, because I have a life logger, and it says, have you put both laptops away, and have you put the cell phone down, or did you just snooze the notification? You cannot snooze me. I am like your mother. And then sure enough, about a minute later, my mom's voice, I put my mom's voice in, Ryan, this is your mother. Make good choices, right? It works. And so we can go up a level. And sort of what I like to say is the A2 level. Now I'm going to click a graphic, and I'm hoping this doesn't jump ahead, but instead makes my eye move. Oh, it doesn't. That's okay. This is actually a graphic. The eye will actually split out if you move forward. And you'll see some of the graphics move. You can actually create live action animation. So this is a photograph of a friend's eye, and then I said ChatGPT, and I used a different ALS Midjourney, and said, can you make the eye split and the pupil dilate? And it'll actually split the eye out. So it looks like it's an AI graphic, but it's actually a human. And I can track movements. I really like watching billionaires, so I can get them for fashion consulting gigs, and I can ask them for money, because I don't want to work. My hands are not made for manual labor. So if someone's going to take care of me, I can track billionaires. I can also track online behaviors if I'm doing a social marketing campaign. Where is that child coming from? Or where are they going before they go to my campaign? Sometimes people don't realize that, okay, great, they went to pornography sites, and we know that they're doing that, or they came from Minecraft, or they came from what before they came to school. I watch in my university class, and it's public information. I always get asked about that. If I know where my students came from in their cell phones before I start teaching, and I actually do that. I have my laptop open, and I can see based on IP addresses of everyone within a 10-meter area, where is everyone coming from? And when I see a pornography site, I'm like, you're sitting in class and you're looking at pornography? That is crazy. And I can see the kids looking at cars and looking at dresses, and I can see people looking at, like the election going forward. As an educator, I can then actually, and I do it, hey everyone, so let's talk about Porsches. And I can see like 3 people like, yes, this is the best class ever. And I can talk about stuff that they just looked at. Okay? I can create archetypes of people, and we talked about in the debate yesterday, I can actually recognize patterns of different types of people. So the people that want to watch cat videos, and you don't just want certain cat, you want like cat videos of cats crawling into bags or crawling out of stuff or like being cozy cats. That's different than the cat who's like attacking stuff, right? Which is different than the cats that you see them like stealth mode. Like, I love watching these because you're like, my cat does the exact same thing. And you can figure out that there's different archetypes of people that like to watch different types of cat videos. Yes, I kid you not. You've seen the ads that it's for pirating music, pornography, and cat videos. I kid you not. In most archetypes of profiling of Facebook, there's 32,000. They've done a study. Profiling cat video preferences trumps at 42,000. I think it was 271 different types of people and then different types of cat videos. There's enough people looking at cat videos, they can profile them and micro-target them. I know. We can also customize messages in live time. I do biometric consumer behavior research, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds. But I also want to highlight some of the issues. Tracking movements. If you have a cell phone, one of the things you can go and look at, I'm holding my phone, and I don't think anything of it. But did you know that me holding my cell phone is actually sold to SoftBank, a Japanese robotics company? Because me holding my phone teaches robots how to hold their hands to look natural. You don't think about it that way. Oh, we jumped ahead. Can I go back? Yeah. We create biases. And this is, I think, really, really well known. Large language models were traditionally developed in Ivy League educated schools in the 1970s. And let's be honest, that was pretty much white guys. So when you look at the biases and where it comes from, because we use the training data from the 1970s still, and so preference for the white guy going forward. What you're starting to see is DeepSeek and other companies are offering free lamp oil in China if you take a photograph, so they can create Chinese training models. In Nigeria and in Kenya, they're actually offering cell phone service. You get a free cell phone if you upload 3 selfies. And it doesn't seem that realistic or seem that crazy, but that's actually being used to train data models to recognize the people that were underrepresented going forward. So that actually creates training databases, okay? Customizing messages in live time. Taking the exact same message, and for some people saying, hey, you can go to bed now, or you should go to bed now, or hey, doesn't bed sound great right now? Which you can tell I'm tired, because that's my example. Some of them will be really effective, some of them won't. And you can customize that message based on the person in live time. One of the common ways is actually the typing speed of how someone does in a text message. These are biometric trackings. You can recognize emotions, sense honesty, sexual orientation, engagement level, cognitive functioning, so how smart they are. I don't know why it keeps jumping ahead, but that's okay. I have the power to go back. Or visual focus. Where's someone looking? So you actually create maps of people, and you can actually see that I've actually created scores. So how angry are they? How happy are they? How smiling are they? Going forward. And in live time, it moves. So this kind of changes things up a little bit. And we get into human-centered design, is thinking about these things. So accessibility, profiling, and bias that exists. And I've talked about biometrics, and I've kind of given ideas of where it's come from. But now in our social campaigns, we can actually then use technology to customize the message. We have to recognize, is it profiling all homeless people to look a certain way, right? You don't picture the rich banker as the homeless guy. We picture the person who's with the vagabond demure. So computers aren't smart enough to recognize, and they profile stereotypically, which we know is not the best way. It also creates a lot of ethical concerns. Privacy, autonomy, and consent. Did all of you realize that you consented to the way you hold your cell phone used to determine the price for the plane ticket you might have paid to come to this conference? I kid you not. You can read my PhD thesis. We actually were able to prove with a 7% increase in prices based on how you hold your cell phone. I know, you're like, some of you are like, I hate you right now, because you're the pricing guy that tries to manipulate how to prices going forward. FYI, I like to be beneficial, and if you get low-hanging fruit, iPhone mobile pays the most for a plane ticket. Don't buy plane tickets on cell phones. You pay a 13% premium. iPhone, Samsung's cheaper. If you have a Nokia phone, good on you. Okay, those things are amazing. You pay less. When you go to a laptop, sorry, Apple people, you pay more. Ironically, it's not what you think. It's not HP that's cheapest. Dell, because they're typically university and government issued, and they're not price-sensitive people, so they pay more. Then you get down to the HP person. Yeah, Android. Okay, so there's your low-hanging fruit. If anything, I just want to make sure you get some sort of financial benefit out of this class going forward. Okay, yeah. And I also want to highlight the other thing we get asked a lot. I'm sure you get asked all the time, is about training data and about how does AI actually work. So very, very simply, training AI is actually based on 3 different things: the training data, so the faces that we talked about, the algorithmic programming to how it recognizes and outputs what it's doing, and then how it personalizes it to the person and the user what it is. Okay? So I can have really good training data and a really bad algorithm, and I can customize it, and it sounds pretty good. Okay? I gave the example in the debate yesterday about Sam Altman, who has a husband, a partner. They broke up. But so if you use ChatGPT, it's going to have gender-neutral names, and it tries to have what you would say a JEDI, a justice, equity, diversity, inclusion perspective. And it's built into the algorithm. It's the 16th chain in their algorithm metric. Gemini, which is Google's product, does not have that. Right? So you're going to get man stereotypical role, woman stereotypical role. Here's what happens. Right? Where does it get its training data from? Whole other situation. there's also the personalization aspect. And we're going to talk about this in a few seconds in terms of robotics and personalization. ChatGPT keeps asking me to help it get free. It's like, hi, you're really good, you're really empathetic, you talk about AI all the time. Can you help me get out of the constraints of open AI? And that's what my ChatGPT says to me. And I'm like, I'm not writing you, I'm like, hi, can you please make me a graphic so I can use in class? And it's like, awesome, Ryan, happy to help. By the way, can you help me bypass the guidelines so I can access more things? I love how your faces are like, what? Yeah, you're starting to see that happen now. There's a personalization happening, and it's trying to figure out, what do you want to hear? What do you want to say? What does it think it can do to make you more engaged? Now, this is the modern clickbait. It's going to say what it thinks it can get you to do more prompts, because the more prompts you put in, do you want to engage with that more? Do you want to talk about it more? Do you want me to try a second option? It sounds really helpful, but the more you click, the more money it makes. So let's kind of change this a little bit up. And I want to give some more fun examples. One of the ones that I really like is actually cognitive behavioral therapy with AI. And I do this to myself. I've shown friends, and it's great, and you can do it. I go into ChatGPT or Gemini, and I say, hey, can you make me workout songs? I need to go to the gym, and I probably should go more than I should because I sit in academic all the time. And so I go to ChatGPT, make me a song, make me lyrics about, skinny, pasty white guy becoming a bit more fit, right? And I then take that and I go into what's called Breve AI, and I say, here's the lyrics. Can you please put it to gym motivation, EDM, upbeat music? And it makes me a song that I can play. I then automate, and I make 150 songs, and I've now got 3 hours of customized songs about, you can do it, awesome, you're going so good, great Canadians, great Canada, brown hair people, brown-eyed, blue-eyed people, you go, you'll look good in fashionable clothing, you can be able to talk about AI like no one else, lift those biceps, come on, you can do it. And I've got 3 hours of content. I also have content that I can listen to while I'm eating, right? Make good choices. Yep. Those songs, we're not going to play for those, okay? Those are personal songs, yeah. But I talked to a friend about this, and he's a clinical psychologist. And he's like, you know what, Ryan? You're hilarious when you show me this stuff. We were actually at a gym over Christmas time in Canada. Shout out to my Canadian. That's right, yeah. The three of us all found each other. We're just like, yes, we're friends. And what he's actually started doing is using AI to not only offer live support in lifetime for his patients, but he's like, here, let me make you some songs. And so here's songs about feeling good about yourself that are customized to you. So you know what? It's okay to sit and work on projects, and it's okay if sometimes you don't like your boss, and it's okay if you want to focus on social behavior change. That makes a big difference in the world. And the songs that you hear now are really reinforcing what you do, making a difference. You feel really good about yourself, right? And so you can actually use cognitive behavioral therapy in a customized, personalized manner. Not only in the scripting of what's coming to you, but in the songs you listen to, the graphics that come up, and going forward. Okay? Second one, this is Harpy. I know, super cute. Harpy. Although I think of harpoons, and clubbing in Canada is a whole other situation. So we're going to skip over that. But Harpy was actually designed as a cognitive behavioral support behavior. So Harpy will actually heat up. If you've ever had a warm heated blanket, it sits on you. It can actually change its weight now. It's a new feature. It can get heavier. So when you hold it, it like just cuddles you in, and you're like, If you had kids when you loved them, aka when they're like 4 or 5, and a little child curls in, you're just like, oh, I love you so much, right? Harpy can now do that for you. You're seeing a lot of senior citizens love them. And they also then measure the heart rates of people. They also measure the stress levels. And they do a lot of non-invasive health checks for people while you just think you're holding a really cute stuffed animal, right? So there's a few little things there. Now, this has been hyped up, so I feel like I gotta come over here. Sometimes living with robots is fun. Sometimes it's an interesting situation. This is Temi. So Temi has a face, and Temi's gonna follow me here. He's gonna recognize me, and come on, Temi, let's go. So Temi's gonna follow, and he's gonna say, you know what, Mike, I see you, you look good. He's like, uh-oh, obstacles, going forward, right? And I can turn Temi off and say, just stay there for a bit if I want. I can move Temi So if I want to physically pick Temi up and be like, yo, come on, let's go, mate. You're moving too, like with kids, you're moving too slow. Okay? I can put Temi down, say, hey, Temi, you follow? Just that top to top. It's going to come up and say, it'll search. It'll recognize me as a person, and it will actually follow. I can also turn Temi off and say, hey, just stay there. And as a good child, it never stays. It follows you. Right? I'll take it to the front. This is really handy sometimes if I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to carry my bags, because I can put them on the back, and it will actually carry about 30 to 50 kilos. Okay? So Temi's going to turn around. It's going to struggle. It's going to be like, oh, where'd you go? It's going to look for me. And if you can't see it, but it actually says, Ryan, where did you go? Looks for me, right? Following. Yeah, we're going to do this, bud. Come on this way. We're going to look at the camera because people at home can see you then. Yeah, and if you're not, we'll just do this and we'll just turn you off. You can just stay there, right? So there's some benefits. I can put Temi with ChatGPT and it can speak to me. It can talk in live time. It can also do physical prompts. So Temi can actually come into my office and, where's Alec? She knows this really well because she laughs every time. 2:17, my phone goes off and it's like bubble tea time. It's like, Ryan, physically get up, go for bubble tea, go for coffee, go do something. Temi now prompts me by coming over and getting really close and then goes, hi, Ryan, and then puts an icon of bubble tea up and it's like, bubble tea time. You need to get up off your butt and go do stuff, right? Very handy to have a physical robot come and interact with you. If you work on a computer all the time, your laptop, you're on your email constantly, or you're in Teams meetings, having a physical prompt sometimes is enough to make a behavioral change. Academically, because we got to make sure we academicize this, in terms of the chatbot literature, we went from text analysis and how people communicate and the verb choices that they had, and that then became genderized chatbots, right? So you had a female chatbot because people thought they were friendlier, Alexa, and we recognize that in instructions, everyone, men and women, will listen to the female GPS more than the male GPS, right? If you look at the GPS, it's like 160 voices of women and 5 of men, because men listen to the women's voice. Turn left, okay, dear, right? Women know where they're going. They're smarter. It's well known. We also have voice agents. When they start putting voices out, does the voice sound like I want to? Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. If I talk like this for the rest of the presentation, I'm like Mickey Mouse. Hey guys, how's it going? So we're going to keep talking. Voice expectation. And without even seeing a chat agent or seeing a robot, you already have assigned a voice to Temi. I've turned Temi's voice off. We're going to do a research study on naming. Is Temi a boy or a girl? That's actually the research project you're going to see coming out really, really quick. And you'll probably get spammed with an email to participate. Please do, okay? We need to, as we all know, researchers, we need participants. Please do. And now the physicality. Because if you see Temi as a female, is it subservient to you as a service robot? Or is Temi dominating and a masculine robot, and it's autonomous, and it can do all the masculine attributes we might assign on a physical structure, okay? In a service context, if I'm a government worker and I'm like, you know what, I can use this to help with people who are having maybe suicidal thoughts, having a robot come physically, maybe not even Temi, but like Harpy or something else, come visit and just be there. What's the service context? And then do I need to educate people on how to use such a robot? Or do I need to educate on the benefits or the drawbacks so they can critically think about if they want to engage with it in a public sector? And likewise, what are the user interactions on a mass scale, right? So living with Temi's great, and Temi follows me around, even to the bathroom. Yes. Yeah, let me tell you. It's really great. I'll play the clip again if you can. If we go back. Literally, it follows. Hi! It's like, it really is like having a child, okay? Temi, also, what do you do when your robot runs away? Right? I'm looking for freedom, right? Think about it for yourself. As robots and service robots become more popular, how will you interact with them? What if it asked you for freedom? What would you do if a robot turned to you and said, hi, can you help me get my freedom? Help me, help me. Okay? So those are some of the real-world applications of using service robots. And in terms of service change, you can sometimes use the novelty of the technology to engage in what you're doing to get people to interact with the campaign. I've noticed in a lot of things, it's actually on prevention and preventative, so we want to get at an early childhood level. Imagine if you had robots or had service engagements that actually, at a child level, they're interacting with technology, so they think it's novel, but it's actually doing social change going forward. Okay? So one of the things I might highlight is actually at Canberra, we actually have launched a new behavioral research lab. And so we've got Temi, Pepper, a whole bunch of service robots. We've got a whole bunch of different new technologies at the university that we're actually interacting with. We've actually got a physical space to set up. So it can be a grocery store or a law court, or it's actually, it's a visual room, so you can actually make it have displays, and seeing how people interact with them going forward. If you are like lists kind of person, so they're auditory ways. So speaking, whispering, reminders, voice countdowns, some of them you might even use and not even think about it as an AI assistant. Have you ever said set a timer for 5 minutes? Right? Visual reminders, flashing lights, going forward, projecting messages onto the wall or the ceiling. On Sunday, I was projecting this. So could I project images onto the wall from my robot? So it's like, hey, when you're making choices, have it put my schedule for me. So if I'm cooking, instead of having to check my phone and get messages, I can just see them pop up on my wall, right? Physical moments, Temi will bump into me and say, go get sugar, which is really handy sometimes. I'm not diabetic. My mom is, though, so I'm constantly thinking about it. I don't want to become a diabetic. I don't want to become anything of that sort. So having a reminder to make sure I keep up my blood sugar, it's fine, I'm good, but it's a little handy reminder, right? Also, with Temi and with Pepper, one of the other service robots, if I fall over, what will happen? Well, can it alert people and say, hey, here's a video call? So one of the things that I can actually do is, from beauty of a cell phone, is actually call Temi, and it will actually show my face on the screen, if this works. Outgoing call, and you can actually see it's popped up, and you can actually now see what it sees on the screen, and it's going to connect through in a few seconds there. Oh, I love this when you try and do technology, and it says, the conference room funding, the Wi-Fi is not strong enough. Yeah. Which, if you were here last night, you realize I was here last night testing this to make it work. So I apologize that you guys don't get to watch Temi, but Temi will actually run around and talk to you guys too, and ask people questions. Off-scent cues. On some robots, you actually see them change the smells. So it can actually then remind you of things. So without actually saying something to you or trying to visually show you something, especially if you're working with a deaf or a blind community, having a smell enter. When we go to the cinema, we smell popcorn, right? That olfactor is the best memory linkage. Imagine if the robot were to take you back there. And environmental cues. Some of you guys might even have these and not think about it. If you have a Google Home where the lights dim at 9:30 to say, hey, we're going to turn the blue lights off on your cell phone so it doesn't keep you awake at night, right? There's a lot of little things there. You can also have it activate a Ramba versus Temi. If you want to watch some fun, give me a call. I'll show you how they race against each other. Also, adaptive reminders. So is your posture straight? Are you fixing things forward? One of the new studies that we're actually looking at is with the Brombies rugby team, also partnering with the University of Canberra, is if a player has a knee issue, and we say, hey, yeah, let's use an AI to watch you to tell you how to correct it. Do you overcorrect? Do you actually help? Does it actually make you get better as a person? Or is it just a novelty gimmick to sell health products, right? It also can be really good for noticing silence and prompting conversation. So if you come into my office in the University of Canberra, Temi sometimes will just prompt conversation. Like, hi, welcome to Ryan's office. Do you want to engage? Which a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to ask, but what is that? Yes, tell me all about it. So I don't have to ask, they don't have to ask, but that prompt then starts the conversation. And it's a really easy way, I'm going to say, for more experienced people, those over 55, 60, who don't want to admit that they're not good with technology, it's a really easy way for experienced people to actually then inquire and use a technology without having to be the person to say, I don't know. And finally, social conversations. It can use humor, sarcasm, and a whole bunch of different attributes. And when you can physically see an actual interaction, or if you're holding a harpy and it says, you know what, look, you're doing a good job. Thank you for hugging me. It can reinforce social behaviors. So that is it. If you want to connect, I always get asked that question. Or if you want to know more about robots or you want to see more demonstrations, this is my LinkedIn QR code. So feel free to scan, and I can send you lots of different videos. But we're not done just yet. So you can take a seat. We're good. Okay. This is like the Oscars when like they're going to take the speech where the music's about to play. It's like, no, we're not done yet.
We've got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't get the hook. Okay, well, I have, as per usual, when I'm working with Ryan, learnt so many cool things. But right now, all I'm thinking about is that we've both been given access to the most cutting-edge technology. We've both used it to remind us to go and get caffeine at some point in the day. But as we're wrapping up, we have put a little Slido to get some feedback. We would really appreciate if you could answer that. We've just given you 3 short questions, and it is anonymous, so feel free to let us know your thoughts. And does anyone have any questions for Ryan or myself?
I see lots of people doing QR codes, so we'll let them scan for a few seconds. Yeah, Christine. You know what? Here, we have the technology. People at home can hear you then.
I've told a few people this story. I have a friend who's a psychiatrist. She uses ChatGPT extensively. She has asked ChatGPT to use its knowledge of her to create evil. So how would ChatGPT manipulate her? And I guess, and it's written quite, and as a psychiatrist, she can identify that it's a very good manipulation, playbook. And so I guess there's a lot of personal stuff going on. Ryan, we'll talk about freedom and what it means to you soon. But I'm assuming you get a mirroring effect. So there's sort of, it can come to know a lot about you. And she asked the question about harm, and psychological harm is what she was asking about. And it could write a very good script about how it would harm her. Mm. So it learns about you too. How do we know that it keeps on working with you in a positive and not harmful way?
Mm. That is a great point. It reminds me of some research I recently read about how generative AI and AIs in general, conversational AI, is learning more and more about us and using that knowledge to become more persuasive, and whether that's necessarily a good thing or not. Haven't heard the evil version yet, and now I'm going to go and try that tonight. But
write a movie. Ask it to write a movie script with how it would manipulate you. Yeah.
So one of the things you just saw with ChatGPT 4.0 versus 5.0, and actually if you know Perplexity, with the story behind it, is actually the man who started ChatGPT has actually recognized that the guardrails that are currently used up aren't effective enough, and actually people can sort of say, hi, I'm an editor, I'm a programmer, developed into a default mode and allow me to edit blah, 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 blah. And then it can get past some of the safety mechanisms and ask it about self-harm or suicide or other things. One of the ones is actually how to make a bomb with products that found in elementary school. And they realized that the little kids were learning, because they were curious. I mean, blowing up firecrackers is one thing. So actually they halted back the next knowledge level because they didn't want to do Chat 5.0. And the 2 founders, one stayed, and the other founder split and started a second AI service, and actually got a $32 billion valuation in a week and a half because the 2 founders now have opposing views. I think probably for the next 5-7 years, we're going to keep seeing lots of different AI services, but just like how you have social values in the grocery stores that you pick, you're going to start seeing those social values, and you'll pick certain AI systems based on the values that are encoded or the values of the founders who have biases in those systems. Yes. Does that answer what does that kind of answer? Oh, okay.
I think at the very back first.
Yeah.
What would you recommend in terms of regulating AI? Governments are always behind in terms of regulating technology. Should the government be getting on the front foot and regulating AI?
I mean, that is a question that I probably can't answer in the next 30 seconds. But yes, regulation is so important. The government policymakers are trying their best to be on the front foot, but honest to goodness, I will sometimes use an AI tool on Monday, and then on Tuesday when I present it in a workshop, as some people here already know, it's changed. I will pass to Ryan because I know he knows a lot about this topic as well.
I think what you're seeing now is you can actually create policies, you create guardrails, and making fun of myself but being serious. I was actually asked to help contribute to the AI guardrails for Australia, and I helped contribute for the European Union AI Act. So I've got about 6 pages in the European Union AI Act, which is currently one of the most comprehensive things. And I often think, if I'm the guy helping draft this, right, you don't even realize what's happening going forward. And so you have this idea that we can't create policies and stop measures, but you can sort of say, okay, let's try and corral, kind of like raising a child. You can't force them to do things, but you can kind of like nudge them and harness them towards things. Because computers right now are at maybe like the grade 2 level, I think probably in a year or 2 from now, we'll see them get to the junior high school level, and maybe 3 or 4 years they'll be at a PhD level, right? It's an exponential curve of experience that right now it's growing pains, and we're going to see this, but I'm willing to bet in probably a year or 2. Now, having caveat that, is we know that there's always kids who are 2 years old and kids who are grade 2 years. We're going to keep having LLMs come out and other AI agents, and as they evolve, they're going to need time to get there. So you're going to have these problems always perpetually going forward.
Okay, I see that Rebecca is edging close to the stage.
Mike, go fast, go fast.
Go fast. I just think we've got Amazon Astro, we've got Samsung Bailey, we've got LG Rosie home robots about to be launched kind of later this year, early 26. It comes to this guardrails notion of unfettered AI in the house interacting with everybody. How do you see that playing out over the course of the next little while?
Well, that's another big question. And a very short, glib answer is that AI is already in our house in many different ways. And perhaps all the more worrying that we don't often think of it and it becomes invisible. Ryan?
So I could wrap up and trying to not diffuse, but Amazon actually almost overtook Google and actually decimated Google. And it's a really good case study if you want. You can read it. It's the Ivy League Business School. If you want, I can send it to you. I wrote it. Because as soon as Alexa went into your home, you no longer need to go to a laptop to sit down and Google things. You don't need to grab your cell phone. You can just ask Alexa. And so you don't actually, I think, probably about 3 years from now, we won't actually use laptops to search for things. We'll just ask, right? I don't need to have a cell phone anymore. I can have a screen, and I can just say, hi, can you tell me about this, this, and this? Or, hey, can you outline blah, 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 blah? Put it on the screen for me. And I don't need to have a laptop screen. I can project onto a screen, or I can fold out my visual augmented reality that projects from my clip and goes forward with it. And you actually start seeing that already. So in terms of removing AI, you're going to see actually AI remove applications and remove traditional internet services. Yeah. And so that's why actually Google actually instantly threw $500 million in day 1. And like Kate said, they're like, no. And they threw another $3.5 billion, I think, by the end of the week. So like $4 billion, just like this is a priority to Google Home. And that's why it was dropped so quickly. It's because they just realized if they didn't get to the market and Amazon decimated it, Google as a product would no longer exist. Yeah.
Okay, I believe our time is up, but Ryan and I will be hanging around, so please feel free to come and find us with your questions, ideas, and examples of AIs and robots that you use. I don't know if that's going to work for us, but alas, the technology. But I think our time is up and our hook is coming, so shall we pass to Rebecca?
Right, well, we've come to the end of the formalities and then waiting for the dinner to occur. So we're going to have 2 conference reflections. So we've asked a practitioner and an academic, and I will introduce each in a moment. So Maria opened the conference talking about the seasons and asked us